Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 33. Ah, welcome to episode 33 of One Step at a Time with Charlie Chen. Ah, man. Now I feel so embarrassed. But anyway, so this one is going to be a rough one, but all I ask is for you to stay with me because it's a sensitive topic. I understand that. And, but I believe it is worth examining regardless because it's not to make light of the plight of all the people that it's involved, but I believe it should be examined to understand the current situation that we're in. So, anyways, welcome to episode 33 of One Step at a Time with Charlie Chen. And today's episode is going to be about my thoughts on reparations. So, I was driving a friend home recently, and I don't know what brought up reparations, and I guess it left a little uncomfortable feelings towards the end because I guess I said something to the effect of reparations doesn't work, and that made him really upset. Now, understandably, yes, like yes, I wasn't there, and yes, I wasn't there to inflict or suffer the pain, so how could I understand it, right? I can try to empathize, but I wasn't there, right? But the reason why I say reparations doesn't work is not to say that Black Americans don't deserve reparations or anything like that. It's more like, I mean, that's what this video is about, right? It's not that they don't deserve reparations. It's something more like it doesn't work because people on top won't willingly give back the resources and to get it from every other people becomes a sort of like a oppression contest or something like that, right? That's the gist of it. But I don't know. I wrote a three-page essay on this, so let's just go into it, right? So when it comes to reparations, there are two parts of reparations. So first, there has to be acknowledgement of the harm done and the acceptance of fault, right? And then secondly, there has to be some kind of action that makes the victim whole, right? So, but the problem with these two is this, right? Like acknowledgement of harm done and acceptance of fault. Like for instance, I think in America there's this like Chinese Exclusion Act or something, and they did acknowledge it and they accept the fault in it, but there's no actual payout, right? Now, another problem similar to that would be something like I worked remotely for a Canadian bank, and one thing they love to do in Canada is land acknowledgement, right? And land acknowledgement always felt a little bit weird to me because, sure, they're acknowledging that they took the land from the natives, but are they actually going to give the land back, right? And are they sharing the profits with the natives? And as far as I can see, the city is clean, pristine, sterile, and have no natives there, right? And then second problem with reparation is this. How much to which victims, right? Because how do you determine how much money and what, or is it even money? Do you give life back? How do you give a life that was taken away, a family that was never been, a community or a culture that's destroyed, right? And and then I thought about it some more. It's like, well, you took the people from like the slave trades, right? They took all the slaves from Africa. Are you going to return them to Africa? And how do you return them to Africa where their land is already taken and already been colonized by other different groups and people? And do you take it away from them in the name of reparation or anything like that? And if they were to stay, then like it gets weird, right? It's like one of those things in businesses, not to say this is legal, is that some businesses where they cook the books and they pretend one thing or another, and then there are so many iterations you don't even know where the original problem was from because there are just so many iterations, like some problem or a malicious thing that happened back in the 80s, and then you have paper documents that's like badly written and things like that. How do you find it, right? And then on top of that, to whom will the resources be taken from, right? Like the one I talked about earlier. Do you take it from the people on the top, and or do you take it from the people around you, right? And then, but all this I'm going to explore some more. Now, in the current status quo, right, there are no official acknowledgement of Black people's suffering, like the slavery and things. I think UN recently acknowledged it, but well, something about Atlantic slave trade, but the US haven't, right? So no official acknowledgement of Black people's suffering, while people on top keep squeezing work and resources out of everyone, and this is both, white people and people of colors, right? And Black people, knowing full well that when people of all colors want to get back at and from the system, that they will simply point to Black people and say, hey, get in line, they haven't gotten theirs yet, right? And the system continues the squeezing because that's the thing. Like, if they give reparations to one, then it becomes a question of, well, do other people get reparations, right? And then, of course, you have this other thing, right? And to be fair, American Indians should have gotten reparations first, right? Because some did get reparations, but if you look at them, it always feels weird because, like, they did get reparations, but it comes in the form of gas stations and casinos, right? That's like an Americanized version of American Indians, right? It's not the teepees, it's not the wilderness full of animals they can hunt, it's not the water, it's not the land given back to them, it's just some gas station and casinos. And how is that better than the past? Right? In a way, I guess you can argue from an American perspective, it makes money and it's very like it has utility purposes, right? But for some people, they just like nature to be nature, right? People value things differently. So you also have that argument about, well, what is of value, right? And on top of that, there are some other problems with reparations, right? So first of all, vertical problems, as in you get the resources from the top, right? In today's world, assets are expensive and people's lives are cheap, right? This is why we have this what looks like the beginning of World War III happening, right? Because people on top have assets, they want more, and since people are cheap, they're going to throw people at each other, and hopefully they'll get more assets, right? And then in the reparation, think about all the damages done, right? People died, families, legacies lost, communities, and cultures destroyed, right? How do you even get those back? Do you get a repopulation program, special land grants and zoning, give back money, and how much, right? Like, for instance, the whole 9/11 victims fund, right? Well, the way they gave back money, like some people didn't even get money, and some people did get money back from that special victims fund, but it's based on how much they made, right? So, but then how do you calculate how much they made for people who don't exist, or what families could be, right? And if we were to borrow a line, so a quote or a concept from CGP Gray's Rules for Rulers, one of my favorite videos, by the way, it goes like this. Every bit of treasure spent on the citizenry is a treasure not spent on loyalty towards the keys to power. And that hands a tool of power acquisition to your rivals. So what that means is if a leader do come around in America to give resources to make the people whole via reparations, right? to a group of people or a small group of people, right? That resource can instead be promised by someone else who wants that position of power as a promise to the people that, to the movers and shakers of the courts. So, so like for instance, a great example of this would be like the constant bashing of wasteful spending on trans LGBTQ stuff by the Republican Party, right? The regular people jumped on that, and regular people jumped on bandwagon because they were denying regular people care in the name of, hey, we need to take care of LGBTQ people, right? But it was all a ruse, right? It's to get you and me to be fighting each other. Think about the resources, and they got regular people jump on that wagon to bash on LGBTQ care because people think or people assume that those resources would be freed up and go back to regular people, right? But no, it was just so this way, regular people don't get anything, LGBTQ people don't get anything, and the resources goes back to all the cronies on top, right? But it's too late, right? And with a rotating cast of people on top, which is a great example of the current administration, think about all the people stepping down and stepping up and stepping down, right? Who and how will you get reparations from the people who are already long gone, right? So this actually brings us to the second part about the reparation problem, which is the sideways problem, right? For this part to make sense, let's step back away from the lenses of history and races and look at fundamental social, look at like pretty much a fundamental social interaction, right? People don't like people who complain. Like, yeah, misery loves company, but as much as people like as much as misery loves company, if you actually ask the other person that you're enjoying the sharing of complaints with to do something about it, nah, they just want to complain, but they don't want to take care of their problem or someone else's problem, right? But so in general, people don't like people who like to complain because there are many reasons, okay? First of all, why are you telling me your problems instead of the source of your problems, right? And two, why are you trying to get me to do something? I was having a fine day before you showed up, right? Three, how are your complaints of benefit to me, right? Four, why are you so negative, right? And five, if your complaint serves as a warning, well, thank you, but do I owe you something for this information, right? Because at the end of the day, like people don't voluntarily want to hear things like that, and people get weirded out, right? It's the same thing as like, when people say, "Hi, how are you? How's your day?" Right? People just want to hear fine, thank you. People don't actually want to hear, "Oh, I actually had a terrible weekend. My car broke down. My kids dropped out of school, or whatever crazy thing. My mom got ill, or something like that," right? People don't actually want to hear that, not unless like it's a call to action or something like that, right? Because then you just feel bad, right? You just feel bad. Is that, well, I'm sorry that your car broke. I can't do anything about it, right? It just feels bad all around, right? So then you come down to then who are your real friends, and if you aren't going bankrupt to help your friend, then are you really a real friend and things like that, right? Then it gets really existential and moral and deep, and like most people are just trying to get through the day so that they can go back home and be semi-sedated, right? And that's a problem with like playing victim, right? Victimhood is only valuable from a position of power because without power, there's no way to enforce the reparations to the victims, right? And that's very unfortunate because there are many people who are harmed who should be made whole, but they're not, right? Anyway, and as a side note, that is why, as a trans person, I always felt weird about the whole allyship thing because I don't want you to be an ally. I just want you to be a person. If you're a friend, great. If you're a foe, great. Just don't twist yourself up thinking that would please me when all I ever wanted is for you to be you, right? And now that I have explored the problem with complaining, we can go back to this whole reparation thing, right? Suppose reparations cannot be taken or given from the people on the top, right? Because they won't give it up freely. And the wound is still there. From who and what groups will the reparations be taken from, right? For instance, why am I, an Asian person, caught up in the feuds between white and black America, right? And if I end up doing well in America, do I automatically assume the white man's burden, right? Why? And this is also interesting to me that anti-Semitism is a thing when the often quoted grievance from World War II happened back in Austria, a place that doesn't even exist anymore. Why is anti-Semitism even a thing here in America, right? And isn't fighting sideways what the people on top want from you and me so that they can keep squeezing us for resources while we are too distracted from bickering about who deserves what? And not to mention, this whole push on getting reparations for the people of color also created a mirror where white America is fighting for their right to exist and operate without white guilt, which is partially responsible for getting the current administration elected into office in the first place. So, in conclusion, the problem I have with reparations is this. The people on top won't willingly give back what is valuable that was taken from you and me. Asking for reparations from people around you while the people around you are also trying to get theirs is only going to drive friction instead of unity. While victims are fighting for being made whole from damages from the past, other contests are happening in the present for the future. Look at our current situation in America. Basic rights are taken away from everyday people. And while people are busy fighting to get their basic rights back, nobody is keeping the administration in check on broader things like going into war and things like that. Because regular people are too occupied trying to survive. And if they're even in the courts, they're just trying to get back their rights, right? And while it would be nice to be made whole, for sure, but for the most of us, keeping our eyes present to ensure a good future is more effective than fighting for what should have been from the past. Because for the most of us, our homes and roots are taken away, and we're just roamers of this land trying to survive. So that was my essay on this. So something I quoted a while back, it was something like when they came for a certain group, I didn't do anything because I wasn't part of that group. When they came for another group, I didn't do anything. And then because I wasn't that group, let me look it up real quick. When they came for the Jews, I didn't say anything. Um, when they came for the Jews home. Okay, so here we go. First, they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me, right? So I get it. This whole reparation thing, we can't ignore it because if we ignore it, it's essentially nobody speaking out for anything, right? And that's why, like, I feel so compelled to make this video because I know this video has to be made, despite how spicy or unpopular it might be. But it has to be made because You and I, regular people, we have to fight for it because people on top won't willingly give it back to you and me. They say it can be earned, but it will be in like it will be dictated in the way that they find deemed, acceptable, right? So I don't quite figure out how to fight back yet, but I'm trying. And so if I don't seem like I'm trying to help you out, it's not that I don't want to help you out. It's just I don't know how. And anyways, that's all I got for now. I'll see you guys next week, hopefully. And I need to go back to editing some more videos for the Along for the Vibes show. And and to that friend that I guess had made hard feelings for, I didn't mean to make you upset. And if grievances happens again, let me know. We'll try to fight back right then and there because reparations is a very difficult position to recover from. So if you need a hand to clap back as the bad thing is happening, I'll do my best to help you. Anyways, see you.